Hello, and welcome to The Math Teacher and More. This video is about using the product rule for derivatives to determine the derivative of one function multiplied times another function. Remember that in mathematics, a product is the answer to a multiplication. So if u represents one function and v represents a second function, and these two functions, u and v, are multiplied together, the derivative y prime is the first function u times the derivative of the second function v plus the second function v times the derivative of the first function u. A simple way to say this is the first times the derivative of the second plus the second times the derivative of the first. If y equals sine x times e to the x, find y prime. Now the strategy here is just call your first function u, so set u equal to sine x. The second function v would be equal to e to the x. Now find the derivative of u. U prime would be the derivative of sine x, which is cosine x. The derivative of v prime, since v is e to the x and e to the x is its own derivative, that's just e to the x. Now, remember the formula that we had. Y prime is the first times the derivative of the second plus the second times the derivative of the first. Now just plug in the values that we had by writing these down. Plug them in, plug them in. So u is sine x times v prime is e to the x plus v is e to the x times u prime, which is cosine x. You can factor out a common factor of e to the x, and that becomes e to the x times the quantity in parentheses, sine x plus cosine x. And that is the answer to this first problem. If y equals sine x times natural log x, find y prime. Please pause the video and then restart the video once you have an answer or you have any questions. So first we set u equal to sine x, v equal to natural log x. The derivative of sine x is cosine x, so u prime is cosine x. V prime is the derivative of natural log x, which is 1 over x. So now we go to our formula. Y prime equals u v prime plus v u prime, or the first times the derivative of the second, plus the second times the derivative of the first. And now we just plug them in. So u is sine x times v prime 1 over x plus v is natural log x times derivative of the first is cosine x. So final answer is, you could write it like this, sine x over x plus cosine x natural log of x. And there is the answer to that problem. If y equals x squared cosine x, find y prime. Please pause the video and then restart once you have an answer or if you have any questions. First we set u equal to x squared and v equal to cosine x. U prime is the derivative of x squared. That would be 2x using the power rule. And v prime is the derivative of cosine x, which is negative sine x. Our first derivative, y prime, is uv prime plus vu prime. Now we plug them in. U is x squared times v prime negative sine x plus v, which is cosine x, times u prime, which is 2x. So initially this becomes negative x squared sine x plus 2x cosine x, and we can factor out, I would factor out a factor of negative x, which would make this in parentheses x sine x minus 2 cosine x, and that would be a great way to represent this answer. If y equals e to the power x squared plus 1 times the natural log of x cubed minus 9, find y prime. Please pause the video, work out this problem, and then restart once you have an answer or if you have any questions. First, we designate u to be e to the power x squared plus 1, v to be the natural log of x cubed minus 9. Let me make a note. We're going to assume that x cubed minus 9 is always positive, because I don't want to bother with absolute value bars for now. So u prime, of course, the derivative of any e function is always e to the x squared plus 1, but because the exponent is differentiable, we have to multiply this times the derivative of x squared plus 1, so u prime ends up being 2x e to the power x squared plus 1. Now v prime, the derivative of the natural log of x cubed minus 9 is 1 over x cubed minus 9 times the derivative with respect to x of x cubed minus 9. And that ends up, the derivative of x cubed minus 9 is 3x squared. And you could write this as 3x squared over x cubed minus 9 for v prime. Now to finish off the problem, y prime is the first times the derivative of the second, uv prime plus the second v times the derivative of the first, which is u prime. Now just plug them in. So u is e to the power x squared plus 1 times v prime 3x squared over x to the power x cubed minus 9 plus v, which is natural log of x cubed minus 9 times derivative of u, which would be 2x times e to the power x squared plus 1. Now when we look at this, we have a common factor of x and e to the x squared plus 1. So we could write a final answer as x times e to the power x squared plus 1. That would be a common factor. We can factor out of both of these, and that would leave us with x over x cubed minus 9 plus 2 natural log of the quantity x cubed minus 9. And there is our final answer. If y equals the cosine of the quantity 2x squared plus 1 times the sine of the quantity 3x, find y prime. Please pause the video and work out this problem and turn the video back on if you need help or to check your answer. So first we'll identify u as the cosine of 2x squared plus 1 and v as the sine of 3x. So u prime, the derivative of cosine is sine, so that's sine 2x squared plus 1 times the derivative with respect to x of 2x squared plus 1. So u prime ends up being 4x sine of 2x squared plus 1. Now the derivative of sine is cosine, so initially that's the cosine of 3x times the derivative with respect to x of 3x. Just remember, when any argument or exponent is also differentiable, you also have to multiply the original function times the derivative of that other part that is differentiable. So this gives v prime, the derivative of 3x is 3 cosine of 3x. Now our formula, y prime equals u v prime plus v u prime. And we'll plug those in. U is the cosine of 2x squared plus 1 times v prime, which is 3 cosine of 3x. And this would be plus v, which is sine of 3x times u prime, which is 4x sine of 2x squared plus 1. So final answer, 3 cosine 2x squared plus 1 cosine 3x plus 4x sine of 3x times the sine of 2x squared plus 1. So there is our first derivative of that function. Please hit that subscription button and please like my video. Thank you for watching.